Well, they are assuming that the vibration was in the right side tires because they went with only 2 rights. They did not go with all 4 tires. A lot of times I've got a vibration, I got to come to pit road. I want to make sure I get it first time by doing all 4.
Yeah, that can really bite you, because if it's not the right front, then you're going to have to come back in.
Jeff Hammond.
Hey, Daryl and Larry, I was in the garage area yesterday when the 2 car came through inspections. They found him just a little bit wide on his tread width, and they made him take a little bit of the wheel spacer off the left front and the right front, which added a little bit more thread to both sides of that race car. And that could be one of the reasons why they didn't get that right front tire tight enough, as they got extra thread than what they weren't planning on for this race.
And Jeff, NASCAR found the same thing with his teammate, the number 12, David Stremme, had to make that same alteration.
And Mike, we've talked about it all year long, how every time you give a half a thread more to these tire changers, sometimes it's a rhythm thing, and if they don't stay on that stud long enough, they don't get that wheel tight enough.
Yeah, that's what they've been fighting all year long, and then you add more thread by taking wheel spacer off. That just compounds the problem. This is the battle for third. We saw Carl Edwards just a little bit ago right up there in amongst that 9 car. He keeps fighting his way back on the bottom, and Casey Kane's right up to the top of the track in the 9.
Matt has more on Kurt Busch's pit stop.
Looking over the wheels, might have an issue with the right front, but Pat Tryson told his driver the wheels look pretty good that came off, but they are still looking at the wheel on that right front.
Well, what will give them an indication possibly that the wheel is loose is the lug holes on the wheel will be a little bit egg-shaped or oblong.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's no problem to tell if the wheel was loose or not. And now he didn't run very long, so it's not going to eat the wheel up like it might if it had been run a while. But obviously, you can look at it and see if that thing's been wobbling around or not.
Well, Kurt Busch has fallen 1 lap and a lot of distance down to his younger brother, who leads this race. In fact, he's in danger of going 2 laps down.
Yeah, there's a lot of cars in front of him that are a lap down, and this is the battle for 10th between Brian Vickers and that 83, who has absolutely went nowhere since that last pit stop. Tony Stewart, who we talked to during the break, up there trying to get to the top 10 in this 14 car.
Well, I know it doesn't seem like it, but we're just 1 lap away from halfway. So he's got a lot of time to get that lap back in the distance.
8th place, Denny Hamlin blasts past Jeff Gordon, who tries to retake the spot on the bottom.
But I believe this is definitely possibly, we need to run a few more laps, I think, to have a long run. That maybe the best the 24 car has been, because remember, at the start of the race, very, very loose. Then as Steve Burns reported, it went very tight. The car would not turn at all.
I think that's some of that confusion, though, you can get, Larry, from the changing track conditions. Drivers complaining tight one time, loose one time.
There's a sight we've been looking for 2 days here at Lowe's Motor Speedway.
Halfway.
Crossed flags halfway in the Coca-Cola 600.
Well, it only took us 4 hours.
4 hours?
Today.
How you figure?
Today, I'm talking about.
How's your routine thing working now?
I got to eat supper before long.
You've been reading some of Hammond's notes again.
Kyle Busch with a 1.5 second lead. There's the distance over Jimmy Johnson. Casey Kane is the new 2nd place car in the Coke 600. He passed Jimmy Johnson 2 laps ago, and he's now 2.4 seconds behind Kyle Busch, the race leader. Casey.
I just like the way that car looks, Larry, and I really think that when we wind down in this race, I believe it's going to be a battle between the 9 and the 18.
I think this 9 car, even though they did not have a strong showing in that All-Star race last Saturday night, I think just talking to Kenny Francis, they learned a lot of things not to do. You don't always learn things to do, but you do learn things not to do. And remember, he won this race a year ago. Has a couple wins here at Lowe's Motor Speedway.
Well, it's a lot different racing the car 600 miles than it is running in one of those All-Star races. This is when you have to have a good handling car, a good running car, and you got to have good pit strategy. There was no strategy last week.
Jimmy Johnson running in third. They tried the 2 tires early. That didn't work out all that well.
I just think this is one of the coolest paint schemes that we've got going on here today. You know, for years they ran what they called the Power of Pride paint scheme on Memorial Day weekend, talking about the 48. And they didn't run it last year, and Chad Canals had a military personnel come up to him at Pocono and said, you know, why did you guys not run that paint scheme Memorial Day? We always look forward to that. So Chad Canals said, you know what, we're going to work on that for 2009. And that paint scheme actually is derived from a paint scheme that his dad used to race up in the Illinois area on the short tracks.
Johnson third, Carl Edwards fourth, Logano fifth, Montoya sixth. Darrell, this car doesn't seem to be quite as good as it was in the last segment of this
Well,
race.
we heard him say that it's just picked up a bad push. And he's having to ride around the top right now, and he's just not able to get back to the throttle quite as good as he could. And Matt looks to me like he had a short run car. He's falling back a little bit. What are they saying down there? Our Matt.
Steve.
All right,
Darrell,
Steve.
you're exactly right. Early in this run, Matt Kenseth said, I'm going to get what I can get while I can get it because I'm going to get tight. Sure enough, just a lap ago, he said, I am way too tight now.
Yeah, Steve, I've been noticing he can go like crazy when they drop the green flag on 4 fresh tires, but it only lasts about 12, 15 laps, and he starts backing up. Here comes Brian Vickers chasing him down.
Vickers in 8th place.
Another car that's really fallen off the pace is Vickers' car, who was up there fighting for the lead and actually leading the race until we had that break for the rain.
Jeff Gordon now in 9th. Has had an up and down day after starting 3rd.
But you know, Vickers, back to Brian Vickers, he's showing just what he showed before that last caution. He's about 2/10 faster than anybody with that 83 car as we're closing in on about 15 laps before green flag stops.
Good long run car. We see that all the time here with him.
Denny Hamlin has moved back into the top 10. Hasn't shown the speed of his teammate Kyle Busch, but he's been right around the top 10 the whole day.
But what a day for Joe Gibbs Racing. All 3 cars right now in the top 10.
Tony Stewart is 11th, and early in the race Steve Stewart was making a mad march to the front, but now he's pretty well settled right around 10th place.
Yeah, Mike, he's kind of stuck where he is right now. He's another guy facing a tight race car. He says, I'm a lot tighter on this run than I was the run before.
And I just
Steve.
think this track has just changed continuously all day long, as right now we've got this battle for 3rd between 3 cars. Actually, Carl Edwards in the 99, Jimmy Johnson in the 48, and Joey Logano right behind him in that 20 car.
Krista?
Well, adding on Jimmy Johnson, I know the 3 of you were commenting on how he was snapping loose off of turn 4. I was down in Jimmy Johnson's pit stall, which is the first pit stall, the one right off of turn 4, and you could see that he was trying to stick down to the bottom. You see him there with Joey Logano on the outside making the pass. And yeah, his car, the handling is just falling off for the 48. And Jimmy Johnson hasn't won here at this track. He calls it his house, 5 wins, but hasn't had one since the fall of '05. He said he's looking for some more of that magic from his house.
Yeah, ever since they repaved this place, Krista, they've lost a little something with this racetrack.
Yeah, he said that the bumps, believe it or not, that they had a really nice shock package and a setup that worked good through the rough surface when they repaved this thing, and it's as smooth as it is now, not quite so good.
Let's pick up with Mark Martin there at 12th place. Martin has had to overcome a penalty for a tire that rolled out across pit road. And let's catch back up with our leader, Kyle Busch. Here's what happened a lap ago.
How hard does he try?
Whoa!
How hard does he drive? He's leading the race by a good, comfortable margin, but he's still going as hard as he can go.
Well, his lead is disappearing, and that's one reason why, Darrell. Here's Casey Kane, less than a second behind.
No question, the 2 best cars on the long haul is Casey Kane in this 9. We mentioned also Brian Vickers in that 83.
You may see a few raindrops on the lens here, because that's what is being reported outside turn number 1. There's a little bit of rain. Thunder showers are going to plague us all day, as they have since noontime after the sustained rain of last night.